Yeah, the crawler wild's always bringing me home. Crawler wild's always bringing me home. Crawler wild's always bringing me home.
Hello, wild ones. Welcome to another episode of the Find Your Wild podcast. I'm so excited to have I'm so excited to have Jess Patterson here with me today. How are you doing today?
Good. I had a really good day at work. I'm so excited to talk to you guys about a little bit about my weird life and what we do here.
I'm so excited to hear more about it. I love the skulls in the background, the turtle
Girl, that's
skulls.
all. Isn't that all what girls want for Valentine's Day is, skull and bones and teeth?
Yes, yes, especially Scorpio women too. So absolutely. So I love that you're kind of like a jack of all trades in regards to the wild world. So for people listening that don't know who you are already, give them like a little background on what you do.
Yeah, so I have my hands in a lot of things, but my full-time job, I am the coordinator at the Sea Turtle Healing Center at Brevard Zoo, and I am a certified veterinary technician. So I'm technically a nurse for sick and injured sea turtles, and that's
Awesome.
primarily where I spend my time. And then I am also a PADI scuba instructor and a shark handler for Gung-Ho Divers out of West Palm Beach. So.
Wow, amazing. I love that. That is so cool. We connected the other day. I wanted to know how that turtle is doing that you had to go check on.
It was okay. So they came in super anemic. So just to kind of reference, like when you're looking at red blood cell count, you usually look at a percentage. So a 35% red blood cell count is great. This turtle was at a 3%. So
Oh, wow.
severely anemic. They had like five red blood cells running around, like, I can only carry so much oxygen. Like,
Oh, poor
um,
baby.
yeah, so we did a emergency blood transfusion, which was pretty cool. It's one of my favorite things that we get to do with the turtles. So we cross match them, make sure that the donor's blood jives with the patient that we're giving it to, and all kinds of stuff like that.
That's amazing. That's
Yeah,
so cool. So
it's pretty neat.
what does that entail? Do you have to have like kind of like a backup of storage of like turtle blood?
We wish, because that would be extremely handy, especially in cases in rehabilitation. Unfortunately, to do that, you have to have very special equipment that is very expensive. That usually
Sure.
non-for-profits can't get. But we were lucky enough right now to have another patient that is not on any antibiotics or anything. We're just kind of figuring out the next step for them. So they're not technically sick. They're getting ready for again, like their next step of rehab. So this turtle's
Yes.
name is Flint. It's another little green turtle. So we were able to pull blood from Flint to make sure that their blood worked with our patient who needs it. And that turtle's name is Spark. So we named
Oh,
him Spark because like Spark needed, like Flint is used to create a spark. So
oh, I love
it kind of
that.
worked out. I know. So but the cross match was successful. So we do not know how many types of like blood sea turtles have. So all we do is we essentially put like we separate the blood from like your red blood cells, your white blood cells, the plasma, and you mix it together in certain ways to make sure that the the red blood cells work with the plasma from the donor and vice versa and all kinds of stuff. Like it's a whole cross matching process. So luckily everybody worked well together. All the
That
red
was
blood cells liked each other, the plasma liked each other, so we were able to do the transfusion. And that's just what we do is we sterilely pull blood from Flint, the donor, like a certain amount, and then
great.
we give it also sterilely to the recipient. Um, we're expecting maybe a 3 to 5% increase of red blood cells. So hopefully, maybe in the next couple of days, Spark will go from 3% to 6%. which is double, but it's still awful. So
Yeah. Oh my gosh, poor little guy.
yeah, but it's crazy because the turtles like spark, they're already looking interested in eating and things like that. So like, ooh, it's
So that's a good start. Wow, that's actually so fascinating about the turtle blood. Who knew that we don't know how many, I
mm-mm,
guess like those are some of the things that like I don't know, as someone who like, oh yeah, I like turtles. Like turtles are awesome, but like the intricacies and in-depth things
oh
that
yeah,
like you knew like we don't know how many blood types there are. That's so cool.
right, yeah. So it's, I mean, that's why I love this field in particular is that like sea turtle rehabilitation is young in the grand scheme of things. So there's always things to learn.
Yeah.
And, it doesn't have to be, doctor veterinarians who are figuring out all of these things. Like there are plenty of things that veterinary nurses like myself have the capability of discovering and, implementing different types of, like something that I was looking into is different types of methods to get food into the turtles.
Mhm.
Um, if they're not eating, you have to get them food, but having to manhandle them and like it's called like tube feeding. You have to like pry their mouth open, shove the tube down their throat, and it's a whole thing and it stresses them out. So there's multiple ways of going about it. Um, so there's I was just trying to like think of different easier ways and not a lot of facilities use it's called an NG tube or a nasogastric tube. So it's the tube that goes in your nose and then down into your throat to
Yeah.
give food. Um, it's not really used in sea turtles, but we did it in a patient with a loggerhead and it worked really great. So it's just like there's all kinds of things to be learned, to be tried, and you can always think out of the box in this field. Like there's with sea turtles, there's so much to be discovered.
Wow, that's amazing. And, I guess it's also really cool in one sense because it's like, well, it's a field that hasn't been studied so much, but at the same time, it's kind of like a cowboyish,
Absolutely.
cowboy kind of.
Oh yeah, and that is exactly where I belong. Is cowboy, slightly feral, like willing to kind of like really go the distance, think out of the box, and say why not.
Yeah, like the creativity that you get to use in regards to like what works and like the ingenuity is awesome.
You got to be flexible, and 'cause every case is different,
Yeah.
and
Oh,
they're
sorry.
a hard species to do like diagnostics on as well. So like imaging, like X-rays and things, that shell is sometimes like an inhibitor. Like you if you have a big enough turtle, you can't just use a normal X-ray machine, like because it's not powerful enough. And
Wow.
so we have a CT machine here, which we're very blessed to have. We're one of maybe 10 facilities in the like zoological facilities
Wow.
in the US that has their own CT, and we absolutely use it. Like we did 6 CTs today. So it's yeah, it's pretty cool. So using you have to be kind of again even creative with diagnostics, like how do we get samples from organs that are completely covered by a shell, like you can't cut into the shell, like there's all kinds of intricacies to it that are it's fun, like there's so much to have to consider and an amazing challenge.
Wow. It's really cool and I didn't know all that. That's really fascinating. What are I was going to ask you. So like what are and also that's a invaluable resource, right? If you guys did use it 6 times already today,
Oh
it's so great that you guys had it. Do you guys ever have like other people like come in and use the CT like from other like I don't know,
facilities.
like yeah.
Yes, yes. So we have opened it up to other sea turtle facilities. Luckily, the two other facilities, so one north of us and one south of us, Loggerhead Marine Life Center is the one that's in Juneau, south of us. They just got their own, it's like a smaller CT machine, which works great for them. And then Volusia Marine Science Center, which is north of us, they work with a human hospital to get their CTs. So luckily, a lot of facilities kind of like, I mean, you got to figure it out. You got to figure out how to do this. And a lot of places do make those relationships with human hospitals. That's what we had to do before we got our own CT machine. We would just be like, wheeling in 5 turtles, and there's like a human patient on the CT gantry, just like, is that a turtle? I'm like, yeah.
It is, but
It is. They're like, half naked in their gowns, and I'm like, don't worry, they're not vegan. Like,
yeah.
yeah, so you gotta be resourceful. Again, thinking outside of the box. But if we were to do an MRI, that's something that we don't have, so we would still have to go use a human hospital.
And forgive me for not being like not knowing like the
The
difference
difference,
technologically. Yeah,
yeah.
but like what's the difference between like a CT scan? Like what does that show you comparing that to like an MRI scan? And like what
Right,
would you need to use that for?
right. So, and just like your basic X-ray is a point A to point B straight through. It's a flat image, which is great for bones and like some soft tissue, but you do lose a lot of information there. CT, you get more of a 360 view because you're going through the donut.
Mm,
And it's great for bone and also soft tissue, but MRI is used for extremely fine images, like say of a brain. And
right.
that's why MRIs like take significantly more time. That's why like when you're doing MRIs on people's brains and stuff, like you are literally strapped to the table so you don't move.
Right.
So we use the CTs looking at say like carapace fractures if they get hit by a boat. We need to see if it crosses the spine and damages the spinal canal, or looking for tumors inside their bodies, things like that. But at MRI, we would use that for a neurological case, which we occasionally get. You'll get turtles with like a head tilt that's spinning in circles, and it's like there's something wrong with their brain. And like, just an example. So this is an adult loggerhead skull, but their
Wow.
brain is like it's very small. So to do the MRI, like it it's very crucial information to kind of figure out like what the hell's going on in there. So that's
Right.
just the difference is that it just gets more fine tuned. But the MRI and the CT are 360 views.
Okay, cool. So I guess it's like for overall, it's probably better that you guys obviously have the CT, and then if
Yeah.
God forbid you need to use it, then you can partner with somebody to hopefully get the MRI.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And usually more often than not, human hospitals are more than happy to help. I mean,
Yeah.
it's kind of hard to find anybody that doesn't like sea turtles.
Yeah, yeah. I
It's like
would
people that
agree.
don't like dogs. Like, what's wrong with you? Or something.
Exactly. Exactly. So what kind of what kind of sea turtles are around you guys that you guys will sometimes work with?
Yeah, so our most common cases are little green turtles that are about, we call it dinner plate size, so just about dinner plate.
Yeah.
That's the most populous size, class, and species that we have out here are these little green turtles, and they are always up to no good. So it's no wonder why we always get them. They're my favorite to work with. They're just like I there's something about their big old eyes when they're like looking at you like, do you have any food? I'm like, baby, I will feed you whatever you need. um, they're just like a really fun little turtle to work.
Hi, guys. So sorry. Brief break. Say that 10 times fast. Brief break from the podcast just to let you know my son is popping in and out. He was sick all week and my husband was traveling. So this was my way of still trying to get stuff recorded. So you might see him pop in and out. So apologies if it's a little disrupting, but just to let you know, keep an eye on him ping-ponging in the background. But yeah, I hope you enjoy this episode. It's a really good one.
Work with, but we they do like to hang out in all the bad places. So piers, they like to hang out in marinas. They love to hang out in Port Canaveral where all the giant, cruise ships are and things like that. So we do get a lot of fishing, like hooked turtles, fishing line entanglement and ingestion, and boat strikes. Right now we are in like boat strike season. We had 10 fatal boat strike turtles come in 2 weeks. It was just like,
Oh my God, that's
and
terrible.
recently we've just been getting an uptick in boat strikes, and it has to do kind of like with the season. Everybody is tired of being cooped up in the house after Florida winter, so everybody wants to get on their boat and go adventure. So
Yeah, sorry, he's like popping in to show me
that's
his
okay.
dinosaurs.
Oh, what kind of dinosaur is it? I love dinosaurs.
Oh, Georgie, he's very good at naming them too. So he's been he's been very into his dinosaur phase right now.
I feel like every child should have a dinosaur phase. I never got out of mine. I think that's why I like sea turtles and cold
That makes a
scaly
lot of
things.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
But like I said, we've been getting a lot more boat strikes lately, and it is just the season. We're coming out of winter. Everybody wants to go out there, but you can only it gets really frustrating because a lot of these boat strike cases, they're like I said, they're fatal, and it's hard to it's hard to tell because they come in with like one propeller strike, and it's like a little healthy green turtle, nice and chubby, and it just got this one propeller strike down the center of their spine, and it's just like it's hard to fully like tell your brain that I have to euthanize this animal because of a good reason. Like if they have their spine is completely transected, like there's no communication, and unlike us, like they can't just you know live in a wheelchair and have accessible help and things like that. Like it's kind of a life or death situation for them because when that spine is transected like that, their guts stop working and they rot from the inside out.
Oh my gosh.
So, the turtles that make it to us to be euthanized are the lucky ones. Think about all the
Oh,
ones that are probably just floating out there feeling awful. So it's one of those things like if you ever see a turtle struggling to swim to get down because they are like buoyant like a buoy, there's a chance that it had been hit by a boat, and absolutely call FWC if you're concerned at all. And honestly, like I try to explain this to people, if you feel like a turtle is in need, you will not get in trouble grabbing them, bringing them on your boat. You have good intentions. I'm not saying to grab every turtle, but if there's obvious signs of struggle,
right.
it's in it. Yes, and it's an endangered animal, but like, no, you're not going to get fined. Like you're trying to do good. Like trust me, there's a very fine, like there's a very definitive line between wanting to harass an animal and then wanting to do good by it. And we can see it. So if you
Yeah.
see like a struggling sea turtle, please like do something about it.
Do you find that like that's usually like a pretty big struggle that you see is that like people don't want to like touch an animal because then they're afraid they'll get in trouble because it's endangered or something like that?
Absolutely. So it's huge off of piers. So fishermen, when they accidentally catch a sea turtle, they're like, "Oh crap, I caught an endangered species. Like I'm gonna get in trouble." And I'm like, "We know you're not fishing for turtles. It's different."
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it's by accident, but please do not cut the line and let it swim off, because if it swallows that line, it like they it sometimes gets stuck in their guts, and then like their guts try to push it out to the point where it creates like this tension inside their GI, and it just cuts through the GI.
Yeah.
And
Sorry
then
about
again, they rot from the inside out. So it's just like, do not cut fishing line off of a sea. Like if you accidentally catch one, please absolutely get it and bring
Sorry.
it to rehab. You're okay.
Great. Yeah, I usually have somebody watch him, but my mom, it's funny that you talked about MRIs because my mom had brain surgery. We just celebrated her 1 year brain anniversary.
Oh,
So yeah, so she had a lot of MRIs happening and everything, but he's sick and he's got like congestion and stuff, so I just like want to be
she's just
extra
miserable. I
safe.
get
So
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
And he's a mama's boy too, so I
No.
appreciate it. So that
Oh
works.
yeah, no problem.
So I want to bring it back to like the fishing line and how intricate, and that's like only one of, I'm sure, the many things that happens unfortunately to sea turtles, right? Is like they have a lot, like, right, there's a lot of problems with them ingesting certain things, and that's, I'm sure, a big thing
Correct.
that you guys see too.
Yeah, so we don't see as much plastic ingestion as you would think, at least off of our coast. It's definitely a
Okay.
problem in other places. We have gotten turtles in the past. We had one, it was a few years ago. She ended up being euthanized because she could not pass all the plastic that she ate. She
Oh,
ate 144 pieces of plastic, and it's abnormal. It's like she was searching for it at that point. I don't know if she was having a hard time finding food or what she was doing, but she was solely eating plastic.
oh
So
wow.
again, I'm not quite sure. Like that was an abnormal case. The problem with plastic is that the longer it is out in the ocean or in the rivers or being exposed to the environment, more bacteria gathers on it, and then it starts to smell like food. So it doesn't just potentially look like something yummy, then it starts to smell like it. So these animals just have like no chance of determining like good from bad.
Yeah,
Um,
that's
so
awful.
plastic ingestion of just like garbage, we get it, but we don't get it a lot in like our juvenile green turtles. Also, fun fact about that turtle, well, not so fun. They had 8 paper straws in their stomach.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
So
because they have a wax coating, so they don't break down as quick as we would like. They do break down, and they're still a better alternative to plastic straws. But honestly, the best alternative to straws is just not using them. And to appeal to everybody's vain nature, if you use a straw frequently, you get smoker's lines on your lips. It's
oh,
like
there you
it's the
go.
same, it's the same like muscles that you're using. So just ladies,
Just like
if you don't smoke and don't want to look like you smoke, then stop using straws.
yeah.
um, so plastic ingestion, and then uh, I think honestly the worst way sea turtles die from like a human related incident is the fishing line ingestion. So when they eat those pieces of fishing line, and like honestly, like we pulled out pieces of fishing line that are just like about a foot long, and it gets stuck in their GI. And when that happens, it creates tension in their GI tract, and then the fishing line is sharp. Like I don't know if you ever tried to like break fishing line, and you cut your fingers. It cuts right through their guts, and then they just spill fecal matter into their body cavity, and that's fatal.
That's it.
Yeah, and then again, the lucky ones strand on the beach and are brought to rehab to be euthanized. The unlucky ones just sit out there and float until something picks them off or they die of their illness.
Right.
So there's a lot of unfortunately suffering that happens with these animals because they are so tough. They are tough as nails.
Sorry. I don't know what he's yelling about. But yeah. Yeah. So
So they can survive a lot of things, and that it works for rehab because it gives us a lot of opportunities to intervene to help. But then at the same time, it's like the ones that don't make it to help, they suffer. So the best thing to do is just don't give them opportunities to potentially eat fishing line and things like that. So.
yeah, and hi, wild ones. I hope you're enjoying this episode of the Find Your Wild podcast. This episode is sponsored by my clothing brand, Femme Sauvage, and you can find a discount code and link in the description. So check it out. We have a lot of amazing designs, and $5 of the proceeds goes to different charities. So please feel free to check it out and enjoy the rest of the episode. Thanks so much. That's what happens trying to be a mom and juggling everything all at once.
Oh, absolutely. I can only imagine.
Yeah. Thanks for being understanding. So,
Oh,
yeah,
I get it.
so they're to go back to they're very tough, which is terrible. And I'm sure it's also awful if another creature like a shark or something picks them up because then they pass along and like,
Yeah.
the fishing line and everything like that, and then that causes even more harm. So
Right. And fishing line, like fishing hooks kind of break down over time just because they're metal. I mean,
sure.
we see it in the sharks when we're shark diving with them. If we can't pull them out, you eventually see them week by week start to rust and then they get easier to pull out. But the fishing line, I mean, monofilament is like forever. Um, and that's the thing about plastic is that a piece of plastic is always going to be a piece of plastic. It just breaks down into smaller pieces of plastic. Like the plastic molecule, that's why, we're able to have microplastics like in our body now, like in our brain, is because it literally never goes away. Um,
Scary. Yeah.
so the microplastics become a problem for our baby turtles. When turtles out here hatch, they go to the Sargasso Sea. So it depends on where you are on the east coast of Florida. It could be 6 miles, it could be 25, but it's where all the sargassum is. So all of that like kind of seaweed stuff that blows in after storms,
Mm.
that's where the babies grow up. That's where baby fish rely on it. There's so much so much that depends on this sargassum out there. But this sargassum is collecting all of this plastic and microplastic.
Um, yeah.
So these are, I don't know if you will be able to see them, but you can kind of see like
Oh,
there's a
wow.
little vial full of microplastics. So I have five of them. We had 300 baby turtles come in last year. They come in after storms, after hurricanes, usually like about a week after. And these are all plastics that I pulled out of turtles that died from it.
Oh, wow.
So, we usually get like thousands of little baby little like washbacks as we call them. But again, like these are full of plastic that
Wow.
I pulled out of turtles after they had died, and most of them had died from plastic ingestion.
That's
Um,
how big are they? The baby
the
ones.
little their shell will be like that. I mean, like
Oh my
they're
goodness.
yeah,
Wow.
like that big. Like they're ranging from that big to you get like bigger guys that are about this size as well. Um, but most of these turtles that are dying, they're just a few months old. They're
Sorry.
usually like this year's hatchlings. Um,
Wow.
so Whitney Lab up in St. Augustine, they did a study on washbacks and they found microplastics in it was like 93% of their washbacks that passed away.
Wow.
So yeah.
Wow.
Um, so sea turtle life are already very hard as it is.
Yeah.
That's why like 1 in 1,000 only make it to adulthood, and that's just from natural causes. And now we just add to that between plastics, boating pressure, pollution. Bycatch.
Good
Bycatch is
things.
a huge one. So
Really. Wow.
um, yeah. So it's just all these little things that we can't prevent sharks from attacking them or anything, and like that's life. The hard thing to kind of swallow about sea turtles is that they actually feed the environment. They are supposed to feed the environment.
Mm.
They have their job as like a checks and balance. Like the green turtles that eat the seagrasses and algae. They make sure that one species of algae doesn't outcompete the other. Loggerheads eating crabs, clams, conchs and things like that. They're keeping checks and balances on these populations. So they have that is their job, but they also have a purpose as food. Um, from even before they hatch, if eggs in the chamber don't incubate, they don't hatch, that becomes fertilizers for our dunes, our beach dunes that we rely on to keep us safe during hurricanes, which people don't realize.
Wow.
Um, so
Wow.
then the babies feed, unfortunately, I'm sorry, but they shouldn't be feeding seagulls anyway. Seagulls are a pain. But they do feed shorebirds that are important to the ecosystem, and then they also feed a lot of these, you know, sport fish that people like to fish for to feed their families. Mahi, like I get reports all the time from fishermen who like, oh yeah, I fished for mahi and I cut open its belly and there's like 10 baby turtles in it. I'm like, yeah, that sounds about right.
Wow.
So
I didn't even
they
know that about mahi, that they eat
oh
turtles.
they're
Wow.
mean. They are so silly looking fish. They look like goobers, but they are mean. There are
Wow.
videos of them attacking flying fish, and it's actually really incredible. Like,
Wow.
yeah. So, they're a nasty little fish, but they taste decent. Um, and then, when you're a juvenile turtle to an adult turtle, you're feeding sharks. Bull sharks will eat, juvenile size, and then you have your tiger sharks that eat the adults. And if you're in Baja, you have the pod of orcas that doesn't eat fish. They eat things like sea turtles and whales.
Mhm.
So they feed the environment. So that's kind of the hard part to swallow. And I honestly wouldn't even
Yeah.
know what to do if I saw a shark attacking a sea turtle. I would have like a very hard time.
That's a
I was
very
like,
hard. I mean, yes, that's a very hard thing.
yeah,
I leave for Baja on Sunday, which I'm very excited about. So hopefully I get to see a turtle not getting
yeah,
not feeding the food the food chain.
yeah. Where in Baja are you going?
La Ventana.
La Ventana, yeah. That's
Yeah.
one. Are you doing like a safari thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got your
Uh,
microphone, buddy? Yeah, I'm doing a sea safari, so I'm very, very excited. It's like bucket list. Oh wait, hold on.
oh, absolutely.
Here, go under there. There you go.
Um,
Yeah, bucket list
Baja,
trip for me. So
absolutely. I'm so excited you get to go. Not that I've traveled the entire planet, but so far, like Baja is one of my favorite places on the planet. Um,
oh,
I
that's
grew up in
awesome.
San Diego, so we would go down on the Cia Cortez side beach camping for a couple weeks every summer, and it was like I think it influenced me wanting to work in marine life.
Big podcast is recording
Okay,
episode.
it just
um,
it goes with the theme of kind of my days at work. This is
yeah.
like yeah, fine.
Yeah,
This is normal.
exactly. This isn't live, so I'll
Yeah,
adjust little parts out. But yeah, I think I'm very excited for that. So
you're gonna have such a good time. Like this is a great time to go too.
I'm really fingers crossed hoping to see orcas because they're like my all time favorite. But uh, leave it up to
Yeah,
the Baja guys.
yeah. There you go. Well, you deserve some orcas in your life, so I hope you find them.
Thank
I just
you.
I have like I'm pretty like down with nature. Like nature's rough or whatever, but for whatever reason, the orcas that eat the baby humpback whales make me furious. Like, could you
I
leave them
I
alone? Like,
I know. I have a humpback on my shirt right
yeah.
now. I saw there was I forget what I was watching, but I was watching they were starting to predate on it, and I was like, I can't finish watching this. I
No,
gotta turn it on.
absolutely, absolutely not. Like, I draw the line at that.
Yeah.
Like, go eat the fish like the other ones.
Right. Exactly. I know that you're also a shark diver too, so I wanted
Mhm.
to, and I know that like I'm sure a lot of what you see in your sea turtle like helping sea turtles and then also diving kind of correlates too. So
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So, I wanted to ask you again about your diving and how
mhm.
that, like, I know that, seeing sea turtles and shark diving, I'm sure it all kind of is a
It
great
all,
way to
yeah,
blend those things together.
yeah. It all definitely correlates. So I've been a scuba diver for 15 years at this point, and I became an instructor just a few years ago. And I'm like an absolute advocate for finding the right dive shop for you, finding one that feels like a family. So I stumbled across Ohana Dive Co. They're actually out of Nashville at DEMA a few years ago, and like they just inspired me and completely changed my life and gave me like kind of another little purpose. And they showed me like as a scuba instructor that I could do so much more for conservation. You're getting people from the beginning excited about the ocean and like starting them off right as good
Yeah.
scuba divers, because we all know that there's bad scuba divers.
Yeah.
The ones that are disrespectful to the environment and things like that. So if you give them a
Yeah.
purpose and a reason to be good, then and properly train them. So as a instructor for them, I have really put into like my open water class, your initial class, or even your Discover Scuba. I talk heavily about conservation because honestly, I think that's what keeps people coming back. Um, Keeps people to like, because sometimes it's hard to get on the water. You have to have the money to go on the boats, and there is shore diving off here on the East Coast of Florida, but like it's still easier to get out on a boat. But to keep them
Sure.
motivated, like to come and see these animals and do good, like there is no reason why every diver shouldn't be picking up at least one piece of plastic on every dive. It's out there, and um, this is what I tell my students. And I'm like, think about how big the ocean is. You could be the last human being that piece of trash sees. So you are the
Wow.
last chance of that being taken out of the environment.
Yeah.
So when
Yeah.
you kind of put that like heaviness to it, like, okay, yeah, it is a bag of Fritos, but like I'm tired of pulling bags of Fritos out of turtle butts. So
I wouldn't blame
and it's
you. Yeah.
yeah, and it's not just turtles. Like, we're seeing a lot of baleen whales and sperm whales washing up bellies full of plastic. So it's a problem. It might not be your piece of trash, but garbage is everybody's problem. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter if you put it there or not. It's everybody's problem. And then, we see a lot of fishing line as well. So, you know, try to collect as much of it as you can. But if you can't, if it's just like, forever and ever and ever, the second best thing you can do is cut it into smaller pieces so
Yeah.
that it doesn't become an entanglement problem. Not just for animals, but also for other scuba divers. So take the time to cut some line. That's my slogan.
Yeah.
Take the time to cut into smaller pieces or just collect it. So, these are just huge things that I push on to my open water students. Like, again, you could be the last person that piece of trash sees. Um, and
Yeah.
then, so as a shark diver, I get to kind of talk about conservation in a whole another light as well. Sharks is kind of it's a hot topic. It's kind of it's you know, controversial. Some people are, terrified of sharks. Other people, like me, are just like obsessed with them. And once you like, there's a really cool animal because they are kind of scary, and that's I think why people like them is that intimidation factor. But they are so incredibly important. So working for Gung-Ho Divers out of West Palm Beach, I get the opportunity to not just talk to people who have already been shark diving, and like I get to educate them about sharks, not just you don't just go see them, like they leave with new information about them. Um, but then I get to take people who like they're there to conquer their fear of sharks.
Yeah.
And I'm like, these are the divers I love because you get to put them in front of right now we're getting a lot of tiger sharks. So you get to put them in front of like tiger sharks that have a kind of a reputation already of being like a
Totally.
little yeah, they have kind of like a negative rap, just like bull sharks.
Right.
And you get to put them in front of tiger sharks and then they have this amazing experience and leave like an avid shark diver after that.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. I mean, I have to be honest, I definitely grew up having an abnormal fear of sharks. And I
it
think
it
that,
happens.
yeah,
Yeah.
but I think that like the older I get, the more that I'm learning from people such as yourself about sharks. And then also I've come to realize that I think it's more of the fear of like you don't know what's underneath you. So I think I would be less scared if like, I don't know, you're in scuba gear and like you kind
Yeah.
of know your surroundings. I think like when you're just like jumping off of a boat into the unknown, that makes it
For
a little
sure.
easier.
For sure, yeah. Like, but most of our dives right now have been off of a wreck. So we're either sitting on
Oh,
the wreck or
cool.
on the ground. So unless the shark is like literally coming out of the dirt, there's nothing floating. I
Yeah,
mean, the tiger sharks are sneaky. It's incredible. Um,
yeah, they're
so
cool. They're really cool
they're
though.
they're really neat. There's been a couple instances off the wreck where it's it's sea turtle breeding season right now, so we have a bunch of like it's male loggerheads that have been hanging out on the wreck, and then we get these tiger sharks in, and I just see this male loggerhead like kind of swim by casually while we have like four tiger sharks, and I'm just like, what are you doing? Leave. Like, and I'm like trying to keep the tiger shark's attention over here. I'm like, here, over here, and then the turtle is just like, what's going on, guys? Like, this is great.
That's
I'm not about to have some
hilarious.
Nat Geo come up in here.
Listen, my heart can't take it. Just get out of here. Go. Get
Yes,
behind
please.
me.
Yes. Um, it's a lot of fun, and these are baited dives, so there is the controversy behind that. But
Yeah.
the thing is, we know that like especially the tiger sharks and even the lemon sharks that we get. We know them, we see them. Like our tiger sharks, we have named them because they're frequent flyers. And so we have like a little group of 12 tiger sharks that we consistently see, not all at the same time, but we
Sure.
see regular. So out of the thousands of tiger sharks that could be around, the 12 that we see, they, it's a pretty minimal impact on like the big scale if you're thinking about it, especially when you
Right.
get people to be advocates for sharks.
Right.
And those tiger sharks, they may come and hang out with us during our dives, but when it becomes breeding season, they still leave. They still go have their pups. They still come back around like their same normal little schedule. I can only speak for our population. I don't know about like Bimini and Maldives and things like that, but I can say that what we've seen is they still leave and come back when they're supposed to naturally.
Yeah. So I also think like, and where do you guys dive? Like, you guys are like obviously like open ocean. Like, how far out do you guys usually go?
By law, we have to be out by 3 miles. We cannot
Okay.
be within 3 miles in Florida state waters to chum for sharks.
Right.
Um, so there are regulations that we all abide by, and it's we typically are diving straight out of West Palm, either on the ledge, it's like the deep ledge, where you get
Sure.
a lot of like pelagic species, which is really cool. You get like right now there's a bunch of sandbars, we're getting silkies, you occasionally get some scalloped hammerheads pass by and things like that. Um, and then we actually go from West Palm to Jupiter to see the tiger sharks. And it's also in this location where we've had four great whites hang out with our dive group.
Whoa, that's so
Yeah,
cool.
it was
Are they
it was
big or
pretty cool.
juvenile?
So we've had like a variety of sizes. I think one of them was about like the smallest one was about 9 foot. And then I think probably like 12 to 13 feet was probably the bigger one. It's kind of hard to get like, I mean, honestly, like any great white kind of looks big. Just like,
Fair.
I'm like, oh, that's a great one. Oh, that's a great white. Um,
Yes.
Especially the first instance where we had one hang out with us. She actually came up behind one of my divers, like directly from behind him, and he's looking at me, and I didn't see the shark until she turned horizontal, and I'm just like,
Wow.
uh, like Josh, and it's like she didn't quite have that big great white belly yet, so I was like, is it
Mhm.
big mako? Like I'm like, oh no, it's a great white, and I was like pointing to it. I was like, Josh, turn around. You could see him like, oh,
Oh,
oh.
yeah. Yeah,
But
because another thing I was gonna say though is that like you guys are offshore, so it's not like
mhm.
where you see certain things happening where people are like dumping meet or something that is like right off of
No,
the pier, and you're
no,
very far out, so it's not like
yeah,
it's affecting people like on shore or anything like that.
no, not at all, not at all. There's a definitely like an ongoing study on what species of sharks are attacking people, and like a lot of like what they were seeing, I believe that it was smaller sharks like black tips that were biting people because they're up in the waves. And the belief is that these little black tips are being hunted by the bigger sharks. So they're being
Ah,
pushed inshore and
right.
they're scared. So they're bumping into a human thinking, oh, this might be a big shark trying to come get me. So they attack out of self-defense, not like, oh, look at that
Ah,
cat. What a yummy snack. Um,
right.
so, because a lot of, again, shark attacks are not fatal. They're bites. They're like a oh shit bite or a what is this? And then
Right.
usually like while these bites can absolutely be detrimental, um, a lot of times the shark probably didn't mean it to be. It was, you know,
Right.
if they
Right.
want like if they really wanted to eat you, like they would.
Right. I had on my friend on a previous podcast, Jenny. She works with the Galapagos shark diving.
Oh, cool. Yeah,
Um yeah, very cool. But she was kind of saying that she's like, yeah, sharks don't care if you have your period. Like, I've been
absolutely
in the
not.
water for hundreds of dives, had my
Yep.
period, they don't care.
Yep.
So I that's like such a myth that should be dispelled, that okay, if you have like a little bit
Absolutely.
of blood in the water, that they're gonna come. Like, they don't like, I'm sure they don't like the taste of you. So
No, absolutely. And like that that's like, we believe that's the case most of the time. It's sort of like, oh, like,
right.
ew, that animal is full of chemicals.
Yeah. Right, exactly. Like, they're used to fish blood, like,
Yeah,
I guess that's why you see more like attacks or bites with somebody that's probably spearfishing or something, because the fish blood's in the water. That's what they eat. That
yes,
makes more sense.
absolutely. There's that correlation, and there's a feud between fishermen and shark diving and spearfishing and all like there's kind of like a lot of finger pointing, and I think that a lot of the problems that like say fishermen are having where the sharks are eating the fish off of their line,
Mm,
there's not a lot of fish out there.
right.
Fish populations are declining. So what are these sharks going to eat? Um, so it's there's a lot of finger pointing, and there's we can only kind of guess why at these points. So, but we the one thing we know for sure is that the fish that these animals are eating, their populations are declining.
Right. They got to live too.
So
I mean,
yeah,
they're starving too. So,
yeah. So again, there's a lot of finger pointing, and I understand everybody's concerned. Like we take a really neutral stance to all of it. And until we're told to stop,
right.
it's and I understand people's concerns with the baited shark as well, whether it be safety or the animals and things like that. I understand every angle from it.
Yeah.
But from my angle, there's so much good opportunities to change people's minds about sharks. And there was Jim Abernathy had a great quote, and I 100% agree. If every single person could go on a shark dive or a shark snorkel, we would not be killing sharks out of fear anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, the more you
So
break that fear, it's so important, right? Like, to
it
get on the other side of that and realize like what incredible
absolutely,
animals they are. That's helped
absolutely,
break my fear too. I haven't gone shark diving, but I would love to someday. Check that off the bucket list. But
absolutely. Let me know.
yeah, absolutely. Maybe next time I'm down in Florida with my dad. He lives down there. But
Oh, perfect.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like this, people don't like what they fear, and like what they fear
Hmm.
they push away, and it's easy
Absolutely.
to do that when you have some sort of a distance, but when you get up close and are able to appreciate them for what they are, and they're such a value to the ecosystem, right? Are they considered like
Oh my
a
gosh. They're
keystone species? Yeah.
absolutely they are a keystone species. And like I was talking about the checks and balances for like sea turtles, They're also a huge component of checks and balances in the ocean. There are sharks in every ocean, and if you don't see sharks in every ocean, there's a problem. Um, you know, the I was in Utila last year, and the the reefs, like they're beautiful. We were doing some technical diving, so we were a little bit deeper, but like the really shallow reefs are absolutely gorgeous. But there just wasn't an abundance of life, as people were saying, like it used to be just beautiful, and there's no sharks there. We didn't see a single shark.
Oh,
Um,
that's not
so
good.
it's kind of like a harbinger, if you will. Like if the sharks are gone, like what the ecosystem starts to fail. Um, so the importance of sharks is like pivotal. Like it is one of those things. If they are taken out of the environment will collapse. It's not
Yeah.
like a, oh, it may. It's a will.
Yeah.
Um, so they keep all of the populations of these animals healthy. So um, they pick off the sick and injured. That's what they primarily like to eat. They don't want to fight for their food. They very rarely pick up on a completely healthy animal unless you're a tiger shark, because tiger sharks are like that. But like they'll just go for anything. They're like, yeah, let's try it. But they're primarily eating sick and injured, or they're keeping animal populations healthy by eliminating animals that say have diseases. So, if you have a fish that was born with scoliosis and somehow made it to adulthood, they have this gene that could be transferred to other fish and cause more problems, but they're
Right.
kind of there to take care of that.
Right.
So they're keeping genetics nice and healthy. Um,
Very similar
that
to wolves, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So it's kind of hard to say things like that because like we're lucky as humans, we have lots of things that could fix scoliosis and, problems that would otherwise in the wild you wouldn't do very well.
Right, right, exactly, right. And like we have like I don't know, we're blessed to be able to be in this like space where we are humans, we have this sort of intelligence or way of life that is different. I mean, I also think that animals just have a different sort of intelligence than us, and
So
like it's
absolutely.
perfect for them, especially like cetaceans and things like that, but
Absolutely.
yeah.
Just a whole like they're so much more connected to the environment than we are. And it's sad. It's like looking at people who don't have a sense of direction anymore. And
Yeah.
it's like we've been relying on other things to tell us what directions are going, where other animals can just feel like the magnetism on the planet and be like, let's north.
Yeah.
um so or the sun setting, all the things, like we don't have that innate um feelings anymore. It kind of sucks. Like I want that back.
Yeah, yeah, that connection. That's what I mean, I can't say that I would particularly know where north south, but I know where the sun is setting. I know where, I know what's
Exactly.
around me, like, paying attention to like what birds at least live near me. Like I'm a big birder, but I don't know, just
Hmm.
whatever you can to like get more connected to the environment and like I don't know, you just pick up on little things. Like you notice
Absolutely.
things, when
And
you're a noticer of the natural worlds, you just pick up on really cool stuff.
yeah, it's I think that also being like away from really populous areas, like you have this ambient noise always wherever you're living, especially like when you're on the coast, there's always traffic, there's always airplanes, there's all this like ambient noise that's not natural, and it just makes it harder to, I think, feel grounded. And it's like I love that saying, like I just need to go outside and touch grass.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just like, yes,
I have to do
just
that
like,
at least once a day, at least.
yeah, need to get it
Yeah.
there and just touch some grass. Um,
Yeah.
but it's yeah, there's a lot that we've lost over time, and I think that we're gonna continue to lose that just natural instinct. Instinct.
Yeah. Yeah, it sucks. I hope that people can also realize. I mean, that's like kind of like my goal with like this is like that, I don't know, find like what is like your own inner wild. But I love that connection. I really do think it's very important for us to get back to like our like ancient roots and connecting back to what, I don't know, are like our ancient past and connecting with like what's around us and nature
Absolutely.
and naming trees and knowing plants and knowing animals and all that.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
think that it's only like it's healthier in
Yeah.
general. Like it's healthier for the planet. It's healthier for us. Like the amount of stress and anxieties that we cope with is like not natural.
No.
It is not natural. So, and
No.
we did that to ourselves. So I think like we all just collectively need to take like a step back
Yeah.
and take a big damn deep.
And it's exactly. And especially the ocean. I mean, the ocean provides us with so much. I
Everything.
mean, it's essential for us to be able to breathe.
Absolutely. Like in, again, trees do CO2 exchange, but the coral reefs do more. And
Yeah.
those little things that we're just now discovering about the ocean. It's like it is bonkers that we know more about space than we do about our own ocean.
Yeah.
Like the ocean for us is like our last bastion. Like, and we're destroying it. Like the ocean will save us if we save the ocean.
Yeah, and sharks are vital to that because they keep the ocean healthy. Like, I was
Hmm.
talking with somebody else the other day, and it's called Gotham Whale, their charity, and they kind of do like a citizen science project about like mapping and like taking into account like all the different whales and other
Yeah,
animals that are in the
absolutely.
New York area. And it just goes to show like how important I forgot like what my point of that it was, but
Well,
that's oh
it's
yes,
like
sharks are
jumping into
older than
nature.
trees too.
Oh yeah,
Sharks
absolutely.
like
It's truly it's incredible. It's like, what do you mean they're older than trees? And like they're literally older than trees. Like
yeah,
the first shark was on the planet before the first tree was. And it's crazy to
it's
think because
mind
like people
boggling.
just assume that it's just like they were just always there. And I'm like, no, like the first flower was a magnolia.
Wow.
And I know that because I have a tattoo of a plesiosaur on my leg, and so
Oh,
it's
I
like,
love
and
that.
they were around like the first flower bloomed around the time of like the plesiosaur. So I was like, it's a tattoo of a plesiosaur with magnolias.
I love that.
Um,
That's so cool.
yeah, it's a fun fact.
Yeah.
But it's we've come a long way, and we've also like I feel like the growth of the planet has been just severely stunted by our growth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
I feel like, and also science supports that the more we get in touch with nature, like the more that it's healthier for us. Listening to bird song, like I don't
mhm,
know the specific study about, but like listening to waves crash, like how peaceful
absolutely,
that is. I mean, I literally put on
absolutely,
sound machine every night, wave sounds. So
absolutely. I mean, it makes sense. Like I don't maybe generations from now, mechanical noises will be soothing, but right now it's not. And I think to save humanity, we need to be back in touch with I don't know, where we came from,
yeah,
um,
yeah,
and
absolutely.
really start respecting this this it's a source of everything for us. It really is. I mean, food, oxygen. We technically get our fresh water from the ocean that
Mhm.
evaporates and then comes onto the mountains and then down the mountains. Like
Yeah,
it's all connected.
everything's
Um,
so interconnected. Yeah.
yeah. So I think that going back to being a scuba instructor, like you can be the first kind of inspiration for people, and I think that it's just important that scuba instructors talk about this. It's,
Yeah, it's like
you
vital,
know,
right? Like to be
yeah,
able to clean up our ocean and like I know there's so many efforts going into that, but like you said, if you're that the ocean is so big, you might be the last person that sees that bit of trash. And like also if you're going down there, if that's like your enjoyment, don't you want to make that like a better place for you to enjoy? And then
absolutely.
the ocean is all of ours, right? So like even
Mhm.
though it's not your trash, like the ocean, this place, like it's all of ours. It helps everybody.
Absolutely. We gotta take care of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
What would you say, like, as kind of like a final note, like, especially with like your work with sea turtles and like kind of being on like the front end of like what happens with like the ocean, like what are some things like people can do to help or maybe change their minds or yeah.
Yeah. So, especially when you get into the conservation field, whether you're working or you're a volunteer or you just genuinely want to do better, no one can do conservation perfectly.
Yeah.
You can go ahead and try to be plastic free, but it is absolutely impossible unless you go live in a stick hut somewhere in the forest. But
Right.
even then, like it is completely impossible, and so you cannot let that get you down. You just have to try your hardest to do small changes, um, and then get broader and broader from there. I think that it's kind of like when people start working out as like their New Year's resolution, and they just burn out the first 3 weeks and they don't do it again. They're like, "Well, I
Right.
obviously can't do it." And I'm like, You went from nothing to trying to run 5Ks every day. Like, yeah, your body's gonna be like, "What the hell?" Um, but you have
Right.
to look at conservation the same way too, and you can't be hard on each other. You can't, point fingers or blah blah blah. All you can do is just be supportive and be like, I was talking about trawling the other day and how awful trawling is for the like just the whole ocean in general.
Yeah.
Um, David Attenborough's new documentary just came out. They talk about that, and
I have to watch
um,
that still, but yeah.
yeah, it's going to be good. Like look at it in a different way. So I did some research on where shrimp come from, and like a lot of the U.S. shrimp comes from like Venezuela or China and things where there's less regulations on
Mm.
their trawling. But like U.S. shrimpers, they're held to like a higher standard. They have to have turtle exclusion devices, other animal exclusion devices to limit the amount of bycatch. So and then the U.S. shrimpers, they're becoming bankrupt. They're not being used and all this stuff. And it's like we need to just change our mindset. Like if you really love shrimp, like I get they're a good protein source. I don't eat marine life unless it's like a spirit fisherman spirited for me, and because I know exactly where it came from.
Yeah.
Just change your mindset. Go get a U.S. based shrimp. Or
Mm.
ask your markets like, can you get this for me? I'm sure other people would love to buy that. It's just changed. Like instead of just stopping, like hard stop, if you genuinely like something, just change the way, like, where you get it from, make sure it's a good source. So
Yeah.
conservation takes effort. And that is the problem. There's a lot of people who are too strung out dealing with their own business. And like, so that's why I'm saying nobody can do conservation perfectly. And you
Yeah.
have to be okay with that. No matter like, you just have to make small changes gradually and don't burn yourself out.
Yeah. That's a
It
great way to put that. Absolutely.
because there's I mean I'm absolutely by far not the most perfect being when it comes to you know trash and stuff like that. But it's also I also live in a state where they're trying to bring single-use plastics back to being like unregulated and all that stuff. And so it also just depends on where you live. You just try as hard as you can for where you live, but other places they're going to be doing better, and all you can do is be advocates. So,
Yeah, absolutely. You can only do a little bit. And I always feel like a lot of people say start like close to home, right? And like do what you can.
absolutely.
So, and like that, like you said too, is like not to like point fingers at people because like we want to change people's minds. And the more that like you distance them, like, and like kind of give them like, oh, well, you're doing that wrong. Like the more you're doing that, the more you're pushing people away from trying to get them on your side.
Absolutely. Um, it don't stay like if you feel like, oh, this worked really well for me, maybe it worked really well for you. Don't
Right.
don't be negative about it. Again, this is everybody's problem. So it's
Yeah. Yeah. Do you want to say goodbye? Good night, Mom. Okay, I'm going to say goodbye and then I'll come help you. You've been very good. Okay. Well, Jess, just quickly let people know where they can find you and all the amazing things that you do.
Yeah, absolutely. So I only have Instagram. It's Jessica Lane P Laine. And then I work for the Brevard Zoo Sea Turtle Healing Center. So if you're in the Melbourne, Florida area, we do a lot of public releases of our turtle patients when they're ready to go. So
Oh, that's
check out the Brevard
awesome.
Zoo Facebook to look for stuff like that. If you want to get scuba certified, look at Ohana Dive Co. Again, I'm an instructor for them. And then if you want to go shark diving, Gung-Ho Divers out of West Palm Beach. So
Thanks, bud. Perfect. I'll make sure I link all of that stuff down below. And thank you so much for taking the time to come on with me. And
absolutely.
thanks, buddy. And thanks for dealing with him popping in and out. I
Oh, that's
appreciate
okay.
it.
That's okay. I totally feel you. When I'm all congested, I'm like that too.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm coming. All right. Well, thank you so much, Wild Ones, for joining us, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Revel in the moment like a river flowing to the sea. I feel the energy of life force flowing all through me, and I'll allow it all to dance